So it's my great honor to get to introduce one of my personal heroes, Carol Tyler. Tyler is one of the most enduring cartoonists of her generation. From her debut work in Weirdo in 1987, she's gone on to contribute to anthologies like Twisted Sisters, Women's Comics, Drawn and Quarterly, and 00, and brought us graphic novels like The Job Thing, Late Bloomer, Soldier's Heart, and Fab for Mania, all of which are explored in the exhibit at the Billy Ireland. She's taught sequential art at the University of Cincinnati's College of Design, Architecture, and Art and Planning, curated exhibitions, and in her recent years has worked to integrate the teaching, creative, practical, and caregiving aspects of her life via the Ink Farm, a Kentucky retreat for cartoonists to work. She and her late husband, cartoonist Justin Green, were the focus of the 2023 documentary Married to Comics. How many people here have seen it? Oh, it's so good. You've got to watch it. Directed by John Kinhart. So today we're here to celebrate her official debut of the most recent graphic novel Carol has produced, which was rush ordered to be here from Fantagraphics just in time for CXC, the Ephemerata, Shaping the Exquisite Nature of My Grief. So please join me in welcoming Carol Tyler.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Okay, so I wanted to be very informal since we have kind of a small group. And the thing was the talk on Friday, talking over at the museum with the artwork. So I don't think I need to go over anything like that. So how many were able to get a copy of the book? Just a few of you. So I can kind of go through that. What? You didn't get a copy?
They gave me orders to do the advance order thing.
Oh, no, but you don't have a physical copy, because I had to borrow this from Joe Walsh. I don't even have a copy. And I didn't even see it. People have their unboxing ceremonies online, and I didn't have that because I didn't have a copy of the book until I arrived here. And so I haven't really looked through it. To me, it's still like scans on my computer at home and original art. I'm more concerned about how to find out what you want me to talk about. Because I could talk about anything, and I can go on, but you're here to hear me talk, and I would like to say, because if you're all interested in how do you use a pen, then we'll talk about that or whatever. No, you don't want to learn about that? So so I want to start out with a few questions that can help launch a discussion. We can focus on, and I do have door prizes. Yeah, I think we have enough for everybody. I brought some stuff from the exhibit and from the book. So does anybody have any specific questions that they just feel like would help guide this next bit of time? Yes.
My husband Rich and I visited you a few years ago.
Yes.
As you were developing this, and you asked our input about one of your ideas, and I was so honored to be included in that process. But you talked a little bit in your gallery talk about how that whole vision of grief-filled kind of came to you as a vision. I guess what I'd like to hear more about is how that idea, which is such a different approach to grief, kind of how that developed and came to you, because it's just such a unique vision.
Well, grief, everyone has had an experience with loss, whether it's you lost your favorite set of keys or hassle of getting them replaced, or a loved one. So it's part of I'll talk like a Buddhist lady now, the cycle of birth and rebirth and death, and it's all part of this thing. But our 20th century culture, 21st century culture, doesn't really have a handle on how to meet that need with people. If you're a churchgoer, you're going to have ceremonies and rites that will help address that. If you belong to a community, they'll embrace you. But if you're someone, especially like me, who's kind of just a creative type, And the people I lost were the people who should be embracing me because I'm feeling grief. They're the ones that left. They're the ones that have been the subjects of my work and observing their lives for years. So I found myself alone. I mean, and I didn't realize the meaning of that. When you don't really go to church, the questions come up like life and death questions. Well, did they go to heaven? Well, wait, I'm not sure if I believe in heaven, and so on. So the most profound element of the losses was the aloneness and the emptiness. I mean, I really felt that. Because I also lost the living. And what I mean by that is everyone takes loss differently. So my brother Jim, who I was very close to, I haven't spoken to him in 10 years. Because he can't handle, he had issues with my dad, you know. And so when we went to clean out the house, and I said, Jim, here's all your baby pictures. And he was like, throw them in the garbage can. I don't need that shit. My kids don't care about me in those pictures. And I thought, whoa. And I'm the only living, like, member of the family who bears the concern. My brothers they got a dumpster. They wanted to throw everything away. And I said, our parents sat in this house for decades, and they paid insurance on this crap. It mattered to them. May not matter to you, but could you please just not come in here with shovels to get it out? Can we have some measure of respect? Because this is an extension. This brings up questions. Wait a minute, so a person dies, but they leave their stuff. Is that an extension of their being? What's going on? You know, so all these big things kept coming up for me, like what really, it wasn't so much about the circumstance of the passing, it was the predicament that it brings. And wherever you're at, it really puts a reflection on whether you're embraced by a community or not, whether you believe in something or not. And for me, it was like it all converged, and I realized I am alone. And that's the night I had the episode. So you probably wonder, what's the episode? It was Christmas time, and I celebrated Christmas as a child. It was kind of a big thing I was raised Catholic, big thing in our house. I have warm memories, like we all do, of things that happened in our childhood. I talk about that a little bit in Mania, just the beauty of a Christmas morning and all of that. But here it was Christmas Eve, and I was at an impasse with my daughter, who I was very close to, but we hadn't spoken in a while. She had a boyfriend who literally wanted to take her out of the country and turn her into a baby-making mill, and that his mother could raise the children better than I could, because he didn't like me, and these are the kind of messages I was getting. And I was thinking, but she's my baby. Why can't I be with her at Christmas? She prefers to be with that guy. Okay. And then Justin was downstairs, picking at the guitar or whatever. And I just thought, I have nothing but this bed I was laying in. And I just all of a sudden felt like, it felt like half of my head just melted. It fell off. I thought, oh my God, I'm having a stroke. Because the profound thought was that I had no one to buy gifts for. Not to mention that I wouldn't get any. I haven't gotten Christmas gifts, and I can't remember when. Because, I got OCD in the family. They're like more worried about whether, and my brothers are dope. I mean, they're not on dope, but, they're boys. They don't come up with stuff like that. So I had nobody to give gifts to, because my living two brothers were like, they just up and left me holding the bag of all the stuff. And Justin was down there picking his guitar, and Julia was bound for India. And I thought, this thing, this feeling. So I got up to go to the bathroom because I thought, I need to look in the mirror and see if my face, in fact, did melt, because I'd seen my mother's face. I think it's in here. I think that's in here. That part about the face melting. I know it is. Let's find it. All right, I called it in the book. Is this going to work? Where's Sam?
Yeah.
The calving?
We can see it.
Okay. So you see the head there. Right after the losses, I thought I was okay. Okay. So the whole book is in 3 parts. The first part is this place I realize I'm in the state of grief. And now this is a further elaboration of what that state, how it revealed. So here I am at what's called, I called it the calving, because calving is the word that they describe when an iceberg shears off. One part of it shears off. And so that's what I felt. These are all strange symbols and presences. These are mitigators, these cattle that kind of help guide me through this area. They're not really cattle, they're mitigators. And all they ever say is, nah, nah. But somehow I'm able to interpret that. Okay, so I talk about being alone, how that moment came. And then I describe it. I describe my brother not speaking to me, and my daughter, here we are. I love her so much. I'm looking at the empty nest, and how I saw them. The 2 of them, they were wearing the same hats. I saw them at the grocery store, and that song came on, Hummingbird, Don't Fly Away. And there it went. See, it was like, shoomp, shoomp. Find a cartoon word to describe that. Shoomp. Try to draw that. It was so hard to try to draw that sensation of really that pretty much that my life had detached. Life as I knew it had gone. And so, you know, here's a big spread of being in this thing, more rumination about that. But so that episode revealed this world to me, this place. I can show you. This is the bad map that I have to reprint, but I do have a map of Griefville here, a concise map. If you have not signed up, you need to. But I made this map. This is a small version of the Griefville map. The real map is at the museum. And one day, about a year after that, because once that thing happened, I thought, what is this? Because when I walked in to look in the bathroom, you have to go through the kitchen, the little kitchen, and I saw it. I saw it all. I saw these things working to remove the deceased. I saw this sign that said Griefville. Here on this map it says, you are here. I saw Queen Victoria, who has mourned Albert forever, you know. So this landscape was a present place that was already in place. And so I just wanted to sit with it for a while. So for about a year, I didn't do anything. And then I had a student come to my house, student helper came to my house, and it was January. And all she did was want to draw portraits. You're here to help me. And she said, yep. And she'd get out her pad, and Kara, do you remember Kara? And she would just draw these big heads, and she would draw a face, and it was like, I was like, okay. I think Kara's job is to come to Miss Tyler's studio and draw faces. Okay, and I watched her for a while, and then I thought, Kara can sit down and just draw. What am I doing? I'm walking around for a year going, whoa, I can't do this. And so her energy inspired me. After she left, I had a 6-foot table, and I had just enough leftover illustration boards from some project that I was able to lay them out across this table. And I started on one end, and I did not stop until it was like obsession, until I completely mapped out the whole grief-feel as I understood it. And that's what's on display. This is a condensed version of that same experience, and I can kind of describe that to you. So it starts out, I'll have to go like this. Sorry, people. Does anybody want some juicy fruit gum? I'm back to being a gum chewer. Okay, so it works. Okay, so, oh, and by the way, this map, I had drawn it in color, took it to the printer, it was terrible. It crashed the computer at the printer place. It was 2 gigs or something. It was like, oh my God, I'm overkilling it. So I went home, was it last weekend? On a Saturday? And I drew this whole map in 16 hours. So I drew it over in 16 hours. So I know this material, okay? So let's go over that. All right. So it starts out, sorry. I'm sorry I'm not professional with these wheelie things. So you start out in life going along, you're going along, and see the path here? You're going along, minding your own business. Here's your stuff, your friends. And then, up, 2. Stop. You go up this way. You're going to go up this way, and your first encounter is that all the trees have needles. You ever seen a honey locust tree? It's got these barbed needle things. And behind there and in here is, we don't know. But this is where these chlorins, they're called the chlorins, bring the deceased corpus, and we intersect at that moment to say goodbye. You say goodbye to your deceased loved one. There's a formal thing. You either take them to get cremated or you bury them or something. There's a formal goodbye, unless the body is missing, which is heartbreaking for people because they can't get to this moment. So then you go on through here. Now here's a helpful chlorin giving directions. These chlorins, I can't even describe what they are, but they are here in Griefville. So then you go up, and of course you're in Victoria Park. And what happens when you get up in here, you are here in Griefville. These are people who are wailing. And on the Griefville map at the Billy Ireland, there are specific mourning, like some people can't get over it and they're continually looking at their loved one. I have little houses that don't have doors that people are trapped inside because they're stuck in their mourning. There's one of the houses there has a XXX hooch and a revolver because that's a potential suicide over the loss, and so on. So I tried to do this. And in the book, I go into depth about Griefville, about trying to think of all the possible things. Some people lose a loved one and it involves the justice system. Some people lose a loved one and it involves having to go to court. Some people lose a loved one and they have to, they find out terrible secrets that then, put them in a different part of their grief, and they have to negotiate that. So everyone has a different set of circumstances that doesn't just get resolved when you go have a mass at church or something like that. There's all kinds of stuff and there's all methods and manners. All right, so the thing is, and I don't show it on this map, there's a dog barking at the moon, but there's a guy in here. I realize there's this guy, Mr. Tooks. I meet Mr. Tooks. He gives me a deed. You see? There's the deed. He reminds me that once you go to Griefville, and if you lose somebody, you're there. And you get a parcel of land. And you own it forever. How long you want to stay on your parcel is up to you. If some people need to spend their lives working things out. Some people can just say, he was an old son of a bitch, I don't care. But you still have a stake in this process. All right, so on my parcel, I discover my great-grandmother's mourning bonnet. it's an actual artifact I found in the house. I think it talks about it here. It belonged to, I was like, Mom, what is this? And she was remembering her dad saying belonged to my mother. And this is a little scene where she's wearing it in Tennessee, 1880. Get water from the creek. Oh, come on now, little Lon, come with Mother. Hush now, everything's going to be all right. And so the thing about why was there a bonnet on my parcel? Because the deed said, in olden times, as it was known, they called your great-grandmother Theola the doctor because she knew about herbs and healing ways, which is why appropriately this, her bonnet, is the best place for you to work out your grief. So if some of you saw some of my exhibits in the last couple of years, I built a giant bonnet. Like in this exhibit here at Billy Highland, there's a giant ink pot of inspiration, ink kettle of inspiration. But the central motif being at the one show I had, I think you came to that, at the ink farm, I actually constructed a gigantic bonnet out of wood. Out in the middle of nowhere, it was fun. It was like, how am I going to get that? I didn't quite nail it, but it was pretty good. We had a pretty good exhibit with that anyway. Okay, so everyone finds themselves in a place where they have to work out their grief. The other thing that was revealed was, I can fold this up a little bit. All right, so what happens is you're going along with your life and all of a sudden you come to, this is the other side of it, you come to the limit of transfer, I call it. And this is the moment when you meet the agent of cessation. And I made very careful to not give it any kind of identifying characteristics of humanness. It's just an agent of cessation. Sorry. In here, I say it this way. Please bear with me. I thought it was. Hey, hi, Pages. I haven't seen you in a while. Well, okay. So what is death, it says? Can you see that? There's the classic angel of death statue that's in a lot of cemeteries. The crying angel. And it says, personifying death through an attribution of any physical characteristics, descriptions recycled from history, supernaturalism, or designation of gender, serves no universal purpose. Better to think of death as a force of happens at crush, drown, hang, at leap, cut, or blast, at choke, clot, bludgeon, gas, starve, suffocate. At disease, at poison, at stab, at shoot, at freeze, at heat, that blanched the reef and parched the maple, turning the sap to stone. Death is when the sugar is gone. Now you would think that was going to make me so depressed. I'm not depressed. I found this to be joyful because it brought clarity to me. Once I was able to start articulating what happens, okay, so a person comes through here, they have a moment of death. These angels, beautiful, somehow angels, shield people from that because we don't like talking about this topic. And the moment of death is a private topic. But then what really I've built the second part of the book on is, okay, so a person dies, we know we put them somewhere, but where's their essence? Where's their them? Where happens to, like, where's my sister? She was I can hear her still. Where's my sister? I got her purse here, but I don't have her essence. So that's what this thing is. This is some kind of thing where the essence separates from the physicalness. All right. So, and then that's our charge in life, is to carry the essence of our loved ones. It doesn't mean we have to hang on to their stuff. It means that we have to find that which we can bear and bear it proudly, because you will be remembered and your name will be said until there's no one left to carry the essence. And then it's humanity that will carry you. So that's why this book is not bleak. It tells it like it is, but it gave me this sense of like, oh, that's liberating. I didn't have any like, oh no, people go to hell and heaven. I figured out that the hell, heaven, and purgatory realms are what we go through as humans right here. Right? Yeah, oops. Yeah, that's the truth. There's no going, I mean, I don't know if we go to heaven, but there's times when I have felt the heaven realm. There's times when feel like I've been sent to hell. So it's like those states are human states. They're mortal states. That's all I can speak to. Okay, so the second part of the book, I talk about the what do you call that? It's called the servant. There I am, bearing a bowl of soup with a garbage can shield, because that's what I had to do with my parents when they were getting ill. My dad had turned into a crab, and I was always having to fend him off, but then make soup and feed him at the same time while dodging his craziness. So this section talks specifically about, this is like, what does death mean to me? What is that process? What is grief? Where am I at with that? The second part, the servant, is about who died and what I did, how I stepped up to be of good service, finding out that really all of these folks had served in some way. So all serve, right? And then the last part is called, see this picture? Duplexity. That's my house. It's my house in Cincinnati. It starts to talk about my present, the circumstances of the present part of life that happened. Duplexity, our house was originally back in the 30s turned into, it's an old, big old white house. It was turned into a duplex. And so if you saw Married to Comics, the movie, you'll know that Justin was living downstairs because of his OCD. He has to control his environment. And I'm upstairs. I was upstairs. So we have like duplex. But the duplexity also goes to our relationship, because I start bringing him in a more profound way. And this talks about the circumstance of trying to reconcile with my daughter, how the zoo comes to the house and says they want to buy my house and all this kind of stuff, and what we're going to do, where we're going to go from here with all of that. I don't mean to be flipping around. But at the same time, all these people were winking out and passing away. I was going over there to help people. Oh, God, yeah, I forgot. It took a toll on me. See the toll? Toll, there's a toll booth. And this explores all the physical harm, giving 100,000% to other people, took on me, and then losing them. I guess for some reason, I was thinking lately, did I think I would keep them from death if I really served well? And I'm disappointed that I didn't save them from their demise, but in fact, they were going to die. And I need to stop beating myself up into thinking maybe if I'd made better soup, or maybe if I'd, endless. That was a drawing where, too bad there's a shadow, but I'm stuck up in this tree and I can't figure out a way. And this friendly big tree says, I just use this secret, this is straight out of comics, use the secret emergency get down from their safety escape system I installed. So the big tree made a slide so that I could get out of the tangle I was in. But I was to stand behind the tree so that the tree could reveal what happened, where I was at, where was my physical body. And this goes on to talk about, when my sister was dying, I ended up with tinnitus, which has since morphed into 5 sounds. I have 5 tones in my head at all times. So I never have quiet. Insomnia. I've been here 2 of the nights of the 4. I've been unable to sleep all night. That's just something I'm trying to work through. A sensitivity to noise. All the things that happen to women in menopause. This is what I think I look like. You see that? That's my self-image. And that I'm invisible because of my age. And I used to be this like, ooh, look at this girl, hottie. Oh, such a hottie and a wild thing. But now I mourn Eros. Because that's what happens when you get old. That kind of mojo juice kind of slides off. Anyway, and then I met the stress monster. Look at you. I even took your hair. You and one crisis after another. What? Oh, you and your one crisis after another piece trying to tie me up in knots. You're the demon behind all my troubles. I wonder I'm so invisible and humping the shakes. I had the shakes. I've had like 10,000 diseases. And my friend Rose used to say, Carol, you've got to get a grip or you're going to come down with every disease known to mankind. And she'd say, take a bath. So I'd say, okay, Rose, I'll go in the bath. I went in the bathtub. This is all true. And there was a deer in my bathtub. It's like, what? Wait, Rose, there's a deer in my bathtub. And she says, well, you can stand on your head and shake your tail feathers if you think I'm going to believe that one. But there was a deer in my bathtub, a little baby deer. My daughter's boyfriend, it was on the side of the road, not the boyfriend that was going to India, but the boyfriend that was the drug addict that we'll talk about later. But so I went to the doctor and she said, you need to take a walk, you need to take care of yourselves and take a hot bath next time. And I went, okay. No, the doctor said for me to take a bath and it was like, okay. I'm not going to say that to the doctor. Let me explain why there's a deer in why I can't do that. And one of the things was take a walk, and this launched over the second part, the next part of the book, where here's my husband, Justin. I kept trying to get him to join me with walks, but he was always saying no to me with everything, because he always had a deadline, a sign. Here he's fumed out with the fumes, and this kind of is a meditation on trees kind of giving me informing things. Like, I love drawing this page because I had to show the tree. I encountered the tree that was already cut down. But I wanted to show what I missed. So here's all these saws and things that come in, just cut just yesterday. And it was an old bookstore in an old crappy area, and I'm talking about this stump being the witness to history whose time was up, and listed all the things that this tree had sat through, everything from First People, Ohio Indian Wars, statehood, Procter & Gamble, the Civil War, Underground Railroad, emancipation, baseball, the Red Stockings, industry, and so on, up until civic development. And this little tendril was when Tu and I started, my dog Tu. Tu is a very important element in the story in the second book, because I don't know if I talk about that here, she comes in as a force of wild, a force. She comes to us as a force. When I was when everybody died, and I don't know if she was there when I had the calving, but she represents the end of the second book. So she starts to make an appearance, as does my husband Justin, because the second book is about him. There's so many cool things to draw. How can I draw? How do I draw? These moments where I realize that, this is a moment of realizing that some guy figured out that if you cut a slice of tree and you play it on a record player, there's a tone. Each tree has a different tone. And I say here, isn't that cool? Imagine the cluster of your trees, your community, a family of varied tones. Together you are an orchestra. But when your woods are cleared, so goes the music. Because an instrument of one plays to no one. Loss heaves the heart from symphony to silence. So that reflects that feeling. Yeah, Justin starts to make more appearance. He's in a dream here, stacking pickle jars, which is pretty typical. And then I talk in the exhibit about making, a night of insomnia, I make paintbrushes out of my dog's fur tufts, which leads to this part where I talk about, all right, so I'm grieving for these people, and now let me tell you about the circumstances of that grief. So this tells the story of having to deal with my sister's last dying days while dealing with an addict in the house. A heroin addict was in my house. We didn't know when he moved in with my daughter early on, but I would be out the door going to help, and I'd come back and be like, man, I thought I had a $20 bill in this jacket, or I had a gold coin that my mom gave me in this jar. Shit was just going missing left and right. And it just goes on to talk about this. I don't want to really give it away, but I had to find the most courageous, I do the most, I walked in the dark last night over at the Ohio State House 2 nights ago. And my friend said, oh, aren't you afraid? And it's like, when I had to go through something like this, and the terror I've had to go through dealing with people with death, it's a walk in the park to go over there compared to the things I had to deal with. This guy was extorting money out of my kid, threatening to kill the family, a guy in the corner, because the addict boyfriend and all this kind of stuff. And I had to deal with it. Because he was threatening to kill her and my family, including me. So it's like, what am I going to do? Say, Justin, hey, Justin, some fucking asshole out there is trying to kill us. He'd go, "Rah!" He would be like the wrong response. So I thought, okay, I'm going to meet this fucker on his terms, but on my terms. So this goes on to talk about how I had to, while my sister was falling apart, saying, I will miss all of this, talking about the seasons, and then I have to drive back and meet the guy at the ice cream parlor who comes in with a guy with a duffel bag with a gun inside, and he's sitting across from me, and I have to negotiate a freaking deal with this guy to save the family. Here I am, staring him down. I don't know why. It was stupid, but just like a cat, I squared off, puffed up, and stared back at that guy. I did not move. I imagined an aura of positivity around him, around us. I said goodbye to this world, and then for some reason, I had no more fear. And it goes on to tell what happened with that and a couple of other deaths. So that's this book. That's part 1.
So, Carol, we have 10 minutes. So
Questions?
Take questions.
Nobody has any questions. Yeah.
I just want to say, when you tell people the zoo wanted your house, I don't think people realize the zoo is right.
Yeah, it's my backyard.
Your backyard, yeah, they're right behind your house. And
it's real.
You said they wanted to either build or expand a building, the Endangered Species Center, which I thought.
Yeah, they want to expand
Ironic, as a cartoonist, aren't we?
Right. So, any more questions, or let's just give out these door prizes, because I'm not taking this stuff back to Cincinnati.
Does anyone have anything they want to ask Carol about? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just going to bring this.
I'm going to continue. You can have one of these things that I made.
Hey, Carol. I meant to ask you this when you were doing the tour of the amazing exhibition, which is like so gorgeous. As an art teacher, I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the ink pot of inspiration that, I loved that.
The ink kettle, yeah.
The ink kettle, sorry.
Yeah.
The ink kettle of inspiration.
Ink kettle of inspiration.
If that's like an old metaphor for you, if it's something new, I'm just like, I love it and I want to know more.
Okay. The ink kettle, wait, let me put this together. I've just been making these weird things. The Billy Ireland exhibit comes at a time when I've just realized that I really love to make stuff. I love the three-dimensionality aspect, and I love to take weird crap and try to repurpose it. Anyway, this is like a bouquet. And there's ink pen points. The ink kettle of inspiration. I'm going to tell you about putting this, there you go. The ink kettle of inspiration, putting that exhibit together. The quick version. Okay, blah, 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 blah. John Kelly was supposed to curate. He got so successful with Dummy, he didn't have time. So Billy Ireland needed a checklist by a certain date. So 2 weeks. Okay, Julia. I'm going to have Julia, my daughter. My Julia, we reconciled. She didn't go off to, that guy is gone, by the way, that guy, the Indian guy. He was terrible. Anyway, we got to pick some artwork out. Okay, so she and I go through, what about this piece? We're going through picking out artwork. My house is full of like piles and piles of artwork. So then she, like, we did this by phone actually, because she couldn't come over. So it was like, I'm having a Zoom call with Billy Ireland tomorrow. How are they going to figure out how to put this stuff together? Because it was like, here's something from New York City. Here's something from when I lived in California. You know, here's some Ephemerata art. I mean, it was all over 4 decades, and it was all over the place. And then, like I described to somebody today, it was like that movie Close Encounters, where that guy goes in his kitchen and he has a vision, and he has to build that mountain, you know? And so I did. It was like, I got to build a maquette of that. I got to figure this out. So I found a big board down in Justin's stuff, and I got some graph paper, 1 inch to a foot. It was perfect from the specs they gave me. And I built a model. I built model of what, you know, how I wanted this to be here and this to be here. And then they were always complaining about those poles in the middle of the gallery. So I thought, okay, I disguise the pole. How could you best do that? With that large element that you would look at and not even notice the pole. And that could also act as an armature or some kind of strength thing. So I went in the kitchen and pantry there. I was like, here's some pasta. You know, I used the boxes. And I just built out this kettle, which was kind of like, I was inspired by, Aileen Crum gave me years and years ago, she gave me a ink pot, kettle, tea kettle. And when Robert came, after he lost Aileen, came to my house in Ohio, this was in 2023, I served him breakfast, served him tea, and I said, oh, by the way, Robert, that's Aileen gave me that pot when I lived in Sacramento. And he lost his shit, and I lost my shit, and we just had a grief moment based on the fact of that gift of the pot. But the element about the pot I liked was that it was narrow. It wasn't a round pot. I have another one I use that's round. So I thought, okay, that would be best to have a squished pot, because then more people, you know, people could get around. We could use the cases. So that's what I did. I created a little model of the ink kettle of inspiration. And I thought, okay, so we do it so you can walk in there. And I always like people to get involved. They can go in there and they can, I want to fill it up with a bunch of crap. Because my daughter kept saying, Mom, you got too much shit. You're making my house is full of stuff. Don't do it. Don't crap it up. And so I was like, okay, I'll crap up the inside of that thing. But it's cool stuff, right? So then what they encountered, Caitlin can tell you, what they saw was that I had figured out these areas, themes. How about we enlarge this graphic and put it over here? This will be California. We're going to put trouble and trauma back here. We're going to have a tornado worth of pages here. We're going to do this and this and this around. So that's kind of how that evolved. And then we had to build it, but they had a great crew. Is there one more question?
Other questions?
Hi. So I noticed when you were flipping through your book that the majority of it is in black and white.
Yes.
But then there are small elements of colors on
Chapter heads.
On certain pages, even just little things.
Yes.
Was there I feel like grief itself feels very black and white.
That's why, one of the reasons why I did that.
Very me versus them, life versus death. So was there a point to your color? Is there a representation with your color or reasons why you chose certain ones in certain times?
preparing for the second book, which does have a flourish, goes more into a color thing, especially at the farm. But no, I wanted to pay homage to my black and white roots. I also wanted to not lean on color specifically to convey mood or emotion the way I'd always leaned on it. I wanted black and white to work in service to the goal that I had. So it required that I had more responsibility to get good at that. And then, when Justin passed away, I went back and re-lettered everything because I wanted to pay homage to him. He's a lettering master, and so I wanted my lettering, I wanted to up my game, so I got out my pens and practiced my Palmer, all of my writing skills again, and rewrote the text on a lot of the pages, and the flourish and the capitals, and the color, if you'll notice, is a balanced element that works in service with the other things that mattered to me. Black and white, good lettering, nice layout, the best drawing I can possibly do at this time. Bring beauty, because this is a heavy subject, so that people can enjoy it. And there was one other question. Does that answer your question? There was one other question. Go ahead.
So you have in the exhibit, you have your list of stories that are going to kill you. Are you maintaining that?
Doesn't it say, after a while, I thought I'll never meet this goal?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I have lists like that.
You have a list like that? I got to do this. I got to do this. No, because, some things you just grow out of it. It's like, I don't want to talk about that. And I have never, ever used my comics to settle scores or get back at somebody, make somebody look bad. I'll try to find out what's the humanity in that person and how can I lift them and others up so that when they read the material, they're going to get something fulfilling from it.
I have a question, Carol, to close this out, because you had that exhibit in Cincinnati at your daughter's gallery that had the bonnet in it.
Yeah.
And that was while Justin was still
Wow.
around. And I remember then, actually, the Billie Ireland was going to borrow that exhibit. That was the plan, to borrow that grief exhibit. What was it? What was it called?
It was called Carol Tyler's Morning Mind.
Carol Tyler's Morning Mind.
Mm-hmm.
And in the time between then and when we had the exhibit, Justin passed. And you went through even more. But I remember you saying after we had made plans, okay, a couple years from now we're going to have this show, you said, I don't want to be the grief lady anymore. I don't want to do that. And that was before this all, even became what it had become. And I'm just curious about, has the process of working on this, knowing that you're even going to be continuing it with further books, right? This is one of two. Is it cathartic, or do you feel like it's kind of trapping you in it and you want to, is it helping you get through this process, or kind of, I don't know, or kind of keeping you there?
No, I think when people read this, you're going to go to your own grief experience. And then hopefully you can just say, and then I am kind of curious about what she had done. So personally, my grief changed. About the time I was feeling better about everybody having passed away, and I had written a book about it. Justin died, and it was like, oh, now I can write a book about grief, because it felt exponentially worse. And so this was like fluff for me. And I hate to say it that way, and I don't want to diminish it, but I think I addressed everything well. But the feeling, the depth, and the intensity of losing Justin almost took me down. So that's where I got that I get a fearlessness by that. Okay, fine, you're on. And so I will never stop expressing emotion, however it's coming to me. The story about Justin, I feel like it's my final release from this topic, but it's also honor. Because if you don't go through life and lose, you won't know about life. And this has given me such insight into that. And I can't tell you how many people come up to me and share their grief, or share their burden. And I feel very strong and very committed and able to say, you'll be fine.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you all so much for being here.
Wait. Come and